The views and opinions expressed in the following paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners. Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our office are located in beautiful, a little gloomy this morning, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined by my crew, my oldest prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager, and my son-in-law, Rob Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity specialist. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan. A real game plan, a step-by-step strategy that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Well, it's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Thanks so much for everybody tuning into our show this morning. We've got 2 hours of fun and information for you. We always like to say we have a lot of things on our mind, but what's more important is what's on yours. Give us a call today. We'd love to hear your voice, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And there are lots of ways that you can keep in touch with Aaron and I and Rob during the week.
That's right. Log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us button, request a coaching session, both financial or and Medicare, or either or, depending upon your situation. Or you can click on the lower left-hand side of the screen in the pop-up box that appears that says sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner, and we also keep that archived on our website the last 6 to 12 months. Rob, we're almost finished with January, but let us know what is in that newsletter.
Yeah, we're just zipping through this month. This is the last week before the new one comes out, so you're definitely going to want to check out the articles in this latest newsletter. The first one being Economy Staying Strong After a Worrisome Decline in the Back Half of 2022. U.S. inflation-adjusted gross domestic product has grown steadily. The third quarter of 2023 showed the strongest growth since the post-pandemic bounce back began. And our next article, really fun one. I've enjoyed this one all month. Can your personality influence your portfolio? The answer to that, yes. Researchers have been exploring this question and have reached some very eye-opening conclusions. For instance, if you're sociable and action-oriented, your investment portfolio will look vastly different from someone who is neurotic and worry-prone. All in all, very interesting article. It'll definitely make you think, and you can pigeonhole yourself and see which personality,
How neurotic are you?
Right, which personality defect are you suffering from? And our next article, do you have these key estate planning documents in order? Your will, your durable power of attorney, your advanced medical directives. Life is certainly unpredictable. Having these documents in order can save you a lot of time, trouble, and anxiety later on.
And, we met with a few current clients after the show last week, and they brought the newsletter along and had specific questions about that very article. So, if you currently work with an advisor, maybe that's a great one to bring along with you to make sure that you have everything in order if those documents are something that you might need, or bring it to our office when you come in to see us.
Absolutely. And the last article is don't forget about credit when planning for retirement. You may be retired for longer than you were working, and you may have a big-ticket purchase item that you want to use credit to acquire, and you don't want to, be subject to high-interest credit card rates or interest on loans. Keeping your credit in good standing and good order will help alleviate some of these problems as you go through retirement, and you'll be able to put your hands on loans and lines of credit at a reasonable rate of interest as opposed to unreasonable rates of interest.
And, a lot of clients attempt to get loans for various reasons in retirement, and they're all concerned if they're not showing as much income as they used to have. How are they able to secure the loan? And I would say before you finalize your paperwork with a loan officer, you might want to chat with your financial advisor, or if you work with us, chat with us to make sure you have everything that is reflective of the income that you're receiving from retirement accounts or after-tax accounts, and then also your entire portfolio, because again, just yesterday, we had a client that unfortunately was denied a very small loan simply because they didn't provide all of that additional information and only really showed their Social Security income as opposed to their income from their retirement accounts, and then also the true size of their net worth.
No, I think you can get to a situation where you're so, just like a functionary application just for a small loan, and, you don't expect to have to, tell them everything, but you do.
Yes, you do. Every single thing.
They want to know.
That's right. We call it the Coach's Corner. You can access it by logging onto our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on that pop-up box that appears in the lower left-hand side of the screen. Just give us a little bit of your information, and we will send it right out to you every single month.
Yes, we certainly like to do that. And just as a reminder for our new listeners, all of our clients are folks that are like you. They are our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire, or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, our goal is to create a game plan for them so they can have a fun and financially successful retirement, which is actually the fun for us. So I know that our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And if we don't have any texts or phone calls at this moment, Rob, I think we might want to get into our first topic of the day.
I see the text line is unusually quiet right now, so I think we're all clear for our first topic. Have you rebalanced your portfolio? When your portfolio is out of balance, it creates excess risk. How would you know if your portfolio is out of balance?
That's a great question. Well, the first thing you want to do is determine what your risk tolerance is. That's the first determinant.
First move on the chessboard, how much risk am I comfortable with?
That would be the first move. And then the second move would be, taking a look at most statements will show you the percentage of how you are invested. You might want to also chat with your investment professional to say, I see that I'm in all of these funds or whatever type of securities you're holding, either what's inside them or how is my portfolio tilted? Is it leaning towards technology? Is it leaning towards fixed income? Does it rely heavily on dividend-paying securities?
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when we're looking at folks' portfolio and their risk tolerances, again, we look at it from two levels. Number one is obviously is mix. Stocks to bonds to cash. And the second level is, are we over-concentrated in specific areas? There's nothing wrong with being over-concentrated, but the bottom line is that many folks don't realize this, especially in their 401k plans. Most of us have multiple choices, and frankly, most of those choices, especially in the stock part of your investing, is generally in large cap portfolios. Your plan administrator is required to, and they do, provide information, and usually they're either short scripts on these or PDFs, whatever it would be, that you can access to look at the top holdings of these portfolios to really find out, as Aaron was mentioning, do we have concentrations in certain areas, whether it's technology or science or industrial, etc., so that you can really figure out whether or not you have an overconcentration, because overconcentrations can also increase risks.
And I think that's a great point, because a lot of people assume if I'm holding a bunch of different securities in my portfolio, I must be diversified. But unfortunately, that's not always the case, especially when we're looking at securities that have multiple underlying securities. For example, mutual funds and index funds, they all comprise, like you mentioned, Dad, holdings that make up their portfolio. In many cases, those funds have some or significant overlap, so you could be holding two funds that hold almost the identical underlying securities, which would create not only duplication for you, but could also then lead to some overconcentrations.
And we've seen that a bunch of times where someone will come in with, they own multiple mutual funds, and it's a situation just like you're describing. It's very redundant, and you're owning the same things in those mutual funds, so now you just have three of the same thing that are named differently rather than just one.
Yes, and we know that the concept of diversification really comes back to the idea of smoothing risks, and also in turn it will smooth returns. It isn't risk avoidance, so that's something that's very important. And if you don't rebalance your portfolio, you're in a situation where you aren't capturing the gains. Therefore, the gains aren't really real. And I think that most folks, even though they may realize it, but they don't always take the time, is that your retirement accounts are really the optimal place to do rebalancing and also capturing gains, because as we know, making sales inside of those accounts, whether it's a Roth IRA or traditional IRA, 403B, or even a 401k plan, we don't realize any income tax incidence when we do portfolio rebalancing. So capture those gains, make them real, and at the end of the day, what are you doing? You're feeding the losers, or the less performing parts of your portfolio, with the better performing parts of your portfolio. But there's also another reason why portfolio rebalancing is really, really important.
If you need the money to supplement your income, or you need the funds to do other projects or other matters, when do you sell? I mean, you can't be driven entirely by animal spirits, can you?
I don't think
you
so.
Should be.
Well, exactly. I like the idea of animal spirits as compared to rebalancing on a scheduled basis, whether it's quarterly, whether it's semi-annually, even whether it's once a year, is a mechanical function. And when you add more mechanics into your portfolio, you're really reducing the effect of animal spirits. And what we're talking about here is really going back to our newsletter article, which is, how do your emotions drive you? As an example, during the last month and a half or so of coaching sessions that I've been having with clients, one of the big concerns that they're having is, how will the election coming up in, if you can believe it, 10 months, how is that going to affect my portfolio? I'm concerned about the outcomes. Well, I would say as citizens, we're all concerned about the outcomes. But at the end of the day, our economy has survived good presidents and not so good presidents, good Congresses and not so good Congresses. adding that political emotion into your decision making can make it very difficult to make clear decisions, and that's why I think it makes a lot of sense to take some of these things and make them more mechanical. And another example would be, let's just say that you're someone that after what happened at the end of 2022 decided that it was time to retreat either all or a part of your assets from market risk. You wanted to get involved more in fixed income as compared to the equity side. Well, this is the same question. How do I get reinvested if I'm out? And, have I missed, the thing is, have I missed the top? Are we at the top when I'm investing? I would tell you the answer is no. Well, historically, we look, and the fact is that the economy continues to move in a very positive and forward direction. And one thing that I have always said to clients is that if you feel that the best days of this country are behind us, then you may not want to be involved in investing. But I think that our future is bright. We know the technological gains we're seeing today are just incredible. They're enhancing our life. They're enhancing productivity. So I think our best days are here to come. We're on the way.
No, you make a great point with, if you were to get out at the end of 2022, given the news cycle was dour and downbeat, and, a few weeks into 2023, and, the market's, on 6 weeks there, I don't think they had a down week. So, you never know when that turn is going to come, but the only way that you're along for the ride is if you're actually along for the ride. You can't, because then you're faced with the prospect of, well, it's easy to get out. How do you get back in?
That's a great point. I think all of this conversation really centers around when you are investing, you have to have rules. And some of those rules are mechanical, meaning I'm going to rebalance or have my portfolio rebalanced twice a year, once a quarter, whatever you've made that decision. And then every time you really do need to pull the trigger because one of my favorite phrases is luck is the residue of design. You designed it this way so you don't have to be lucky when things turn around if they've been negative, or if things aren't so positive, eventually, at least history has showed us, that we'll see more positive times down the road. That being said, as we talked about at the beginning, we want to make sure that your portfolio meets your risk tolerance. So in those not so good times, you aren't feeling as though you've taken on excessive risk in your portfolio.
And I think that one thing to remind are all the folks listening today that are still actively at work, they plan on continuing to do so past the next 6 months, is that it may seem the antithesis of this, but when you and your company are making contributions to your retirement accounts, you really prefer to buy things when they're down, because what happens is that when they recover, those are where the gains come from.
Right, because you bought more shares, theoretically, because the same dollars bought more shares when they were less expensive, and now you have more shares that are all appreciating.
Exactly, and we know that. And if just think, you can just think to yourself, if I'm investing in the same funds that I did 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, are they worth more today than they were then? And the answer, I'm sure, in many cases is yes. And if that is, guess what? You've seen the gain, and through the ups and downs, you've been investing dollar cost averaging, as it would be, across that period of time. And that's how you accumulate money, as my daughter likes to say, staying in the game.
I wanted to go back quickly to the conversation about the upcoming election this year. I, too, have heard that question, I think, in almost every single coaching session since the year began, which is what's going to happen if someone is elected. And I just got whoever is elected. It doesn't matter what's going to happen if Biden's reelected, what's going to happen if a Republican is elected. And I just looked back on the past two elections. If we looked at 2016, the market was down the night of the election based on the outcome, and during the Trump presidency, the returns were great for most individuals, depending upon how you were invested. But then if we look at the last election, we saw a huge bounce leading into the Biden presidency, and we've had a little bit of a rough go. So,
I think you're absolutely right, and I think a good way, or a way I choose to look at the upcoming election, is as just a bigger version of the government shutdown debate. If you can remember that one,
sure.
The world was going to end.
Right.
We're not going to, the street lights are going to go out. How are we going to pay for anything? And, you got to understand, a lot of times the media, their job is to sell the story. It's, your job at home to, judiciously parse what they're saying and choose what to believe and what to,
maybe set to the side.
Yeah, I think that would be, I think caution is necessary here, but you don't want to be too cautious. And, you just want to know that, these things we've had plenty of elections in the country. Country's still here. As Jeff says, we've had good executives, we've had bad ones, we've had ones in between, and we're all still here and we're all still doing our thing. So, it's just important to, I think, take a step back and look at the bigger picture.
And that kind of leads to, there are two different types of events. There's emotional events, which I would categorize the election as an emotional event. And then there are things that are structural issues with the economy or structural changes to the economy. When we see rates rising, that doesn't necessarily mean we completely risk off the portfolio, meaning, move away from equities, but it does mean, are we looking at different equities potentially, and is that how we're balancing the portfolio? So not everything is all or nothing.
No, I think some people look at, these events, your government shutdowns, your elections, these are like extinction level events, but they're really not, and they never were. And so you have to be a little bit judicious in how you parse all this.
Very good conversation. And we know that by rebalancing your portfolio, there are a lot of goals that you can satisfy. Obviously, one of them is keeping your portfolio in line with your risk tolerance, which is, and by the way, risk tolerance is fluid. And we have found that in times where we're having either economic, political, etc. issues, folks tend to become or want to become more conservative in their thinking. At the same time, when the markets are running very positive, either because of news or, as Aaron was saying, because of structural events that may be occurring, people tend to be a little less conservative. And in many cases, I know that in the relationships that we've created with clients, they don't.
Risk is never about the gains.
Well, that's right. And the fact is that as you become more comfortable with an investment advisor, and obviously you have history and you can measure their performance against your expectations, we find that many of our clients, their risk tolerance, they're willing to turn up the heat a little bit because they're in many cases they're trusting our expertise. If they don't, they obviously would leave, and we don't see that happening. So, there are some goals that you can satisfy. Obviously, one of them is getting your risk tolerance in line. Another one would be, as we discussed, capturing gains, making them real, making them a part of your portfolio, whether it's to actually rebalance the risk in their portfolio or create cash, which can then be used for various other purposes.
So once you've got your portfolio in line with your risk tolerance and you've captured some gains, maybe you have a capital consumption project or something throughout the year that you'd like to create some income for. After you've done 1 and 2, you segue right down into 3.
And then also this is another opportunity for you to have some tactical management of your portfolio. So if we use, for example, 2023, we saw a precipitous rise in a very small number of securities. If you happen to have been invested in those securities, maybe this is your opportunity to take some of those gains off the table and look at what you think the next potential sector of the economy or select number of securities are going to have their run.
Yes, and then finally, rebalance your portfolio, adding a mechanical portion to your investing style. What that does is, in many cases, it'll take out some of the emotion out of the investment decision. And as Rob would tell you from our monthly newsletter, it depends on whether if you tend to be more social and outing versus someone that's a little bit more reserved and conservative. whichever of those particular styles you happen to resemble, your portfolio in many cases is going to resemble that as well.
And I think that, we've focused, it seems, almost entirely on IRA or potentially Roth rebalancing, meaning inside of retirement accounts where we have no tax consequences, but rebalancing your after-tax accounts where there are potential tax consequences is also another important piece of your investing game plan, because as certain securities potentially appreciate in value, you may feel as though you're stuck with them because you don't want to create those capital gains. So being able to do a bit of tax harvesting, as they like to call it, when you see other securities down, may give you the opportunity to deleverage yourself from places where you have high appreciation.
Offset some of your losses with some of those nice gains. That's a great idea.
Well, our phone lines are open. We would love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And I think at this point, why don't we take our first break of the hour, and hopefully we'll come back and get more of your texts and phone calls here on the Big 550 KTRS.
Hey, KTRS listeners, Roger Wigginton here at Don Rogers Limited, 6727 West Main in Belleville. Well, after over 47 years in business, I've made the very difficult decision to retire and turn the page to the next chapter in my life. The month of January, we invite you to enjoy a discount of 30% off the regular price of our entire inventory of wonderful men's and women's apparel and accessories. Nothing is held back. Also, our beautiful building located on Main Street with dedicated parking and spacious living above the store is also for sale. Perfect for starting your own boutique. We'll leave it turnkey for you, including the fixtures. Our retirement sale is in progress at Don Rogers Limited. Don't forget we are open 9:30 to 4, Tuesday through Saturday. As always, park at the door, walk in, and get waited on. All sales will be final during our entire sale. I would love to see you, my great friends, again one last time. As always, we thank you for listening to our commercial.
Hello, I'm Florissant Mayor Tim Lowry. We are over 52,000 strong, and we are the largest municipality in St. Louis County. The City of Florissant is proud to once again be a co-sponsor with the Big 550 KTRS for the Backstoppers Radiothon. I came from a law enforcement family and had worked my way through the ranks to the position of Chief of Police before becoming mayor. I know how important the Backstoppers are to the community and all the wonderful things they do for the families of our fallen heroes. Again, the City of Florissant is proud to support this year's Radiothon, and thank you for all you do. We are Florissant Strong. Be safe and stay healthy.
Hi, this is Stuart Rosenblum, president of Stewart's American Mortgage.
Stewie!
Mortgages are the biggest investment that a person's going to make in their life, yet most people don't know anything about it. Tune in for Mortgages and More with Stewie. That's me, where we can go over all the different types of mortgage programs in simple terms. You, me,
Stewie!
You'll become an expert after the first show.
Listen to Mortgages and More with Stewie, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on KTRS.
No better place and no better time to start saving than Neighbors Credit Union. You'll find great rates and flexible terms at Neighbors. You'll also find terrific CD specials. Best of all, your savings are safe, secure, and insured at Neighbors Credit Union up to $500,000 per individual member. It's super easy to open up an account at Neighbors Credit Union. Stop by one of their 8 area branches or visit the website, neighborscu.org. That's neighborscu.org.
Federally insured by NCUA. Additional insurance by ESI.
This is Mariah, third generation at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. Buying an engagement ring can be intimidating. At Newsteaders, we ensure complete understanding of your purchase. We offer a choice in both lab and mine-grown diamonds and are able to work with any budget. Let our family help educate you on your choice at Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
Winter is a great time to work on your trees. Hi, I'm Steve with River City Tree Service, your go-to tree service since 2008. Whether you want to trim your trees, need some deadwooding, or you want a tree removed in the stump ground, choose the ISA Certified Arborist at River City Tree Service in Baldwin. Right now, we're offering a winter special that will save you a lot of money. Call 314-270-8071. That's 314-270-8071. River City Tree Service.
Whenever there's a mission of need in our community, KTRS is always leading the parade.
And this time, we asked you to join us during the KTRS Radiothon to support Backstoppers.
Backstoppers showed up, and they reassured me I had nothing to worry about.
The generous support from our sponsors and you will help the Backstoppers continue their mission to be the safety net for fallen first responders in Missouri and Illinois.
Whatever money you donate, it'll be money well managed and well spent on these families.
The KTRS Radiothon to support Backstoppers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Because KTRS cares. Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement. It's 9:35 here on the Big 550. We're halfway through hour number 1 of our show, and I know we've got a caller on the line.
Good morning, Kathy.
Hi, good morning, Aaron and Jeff. I love your show. Thank you so much for your great information. I have a question. I am collecting Social Security, and I have been for several years. I'm 8 months shy of full retirement age. But my question is, I do work part-time, and I'm real careful about the maximum allowable. But my question is the maximum allowable penalty based, if I go over that maximum allowable, is it based on the yearly total, or do they break it down by quarters or month? So can I make $30,000 next month in February, and then I'm going to get penalized because I'm over? Does that make sense?
They calculated on a yearly basis, and they just changed this year's take-back limit. It was $21,240. Now it is $22,320. So it's about an $1,100 increase in what you can make, and they'll take back, if you go over that, $1 for every $2 that you earn over it.
Except for, and I would never say this again in the public, Kathy, but it sounds like Kathy is in the year that she turns normal retirement age.
She is.
Yes.
The year that you're turning your normal retirement age, it's $1 for every $3 that you earn over $59,520.
Oh, perfect. Then I'm okay. I'm great.
Well, that's great to hear. You get both all of your income from your hard work and all of your Social Security from all of that hard work.
Yes, thank you so much. I did not realize that, so I appreciate that very much.
You're
yes,
welcome.
and I was going to mention, Kathy, one other way that you can certainly help yourself in this situation is, because you are actively at work, is by making contributions to your retirement accounts.
Yes.
That's good. So, and those limits have increased as well for this last year. So, you sound great. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your show.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, now that we've exhausted our calls and texts for the moment, thanks, Kathy, for breaking the ice. Dad, did you want to kick off our Rock Stars of the Week segment?
Yes, I'd like to do that. And, you know, we love to tell stories about prospective clients, folks that we visited with, and we do this very often, really on a weekly basis, with new folks that are interested in retirement. They want to come in for a coaching session to find out, and many of them ask, am I a rock star? And again, we define rock stars as folks that either have more capital and or income to satisfy their long-term needs, and are in a situation where their withdrawal rates are within a prudent range, so that with the hope that their capital can be maintained over a long period of time. So we want to talk about Sue and her husband, Sam. Sue, they're both 65 years old, and they happen to have been clients of ours for about 5 years. Sam is semi-retired. He's been retired for about 3 years at this point. Aaron doesn't love that the husbands retire first, but she'll get over it. And but their primary source of income has been Sue's job, her earnings. They've been terrific savers and investors during their working lifetime. So let's give a little bit of background here on where they're sitting in terms of their retirement assets.
They have $1.3 million in IRA assets, $65,000 in Roth IRA assets, $1.2 million in trust assets from the sale of a prior business, and $70,000 in their vault, and they have no mortgage, home equity line of credit, or credit card debt.
Do they have any children?
Well, of course they do. They have 2 children, and they've still managed to accumulate a bunch of money, and which is wonderful.
And pay off all of their debt, which is fabulous.
And that's really one of the keys we have found in terms of folks being rock stars, which is the pulls on their income because their children are grown. They're actively at work, beginning their careers, and also not having long-term debt like mortgage obligations, large credit card balances, home equity lines of credit. By not having these pulls on their income, it makes those inflows, whether it's Social Security, pensions, etc., much more valuable. So we sat down with them and we found that after discussion, their current spending is running approximately $6,000 a month after tax. So they have a nice lifestyle. It's obviously been reduced a little bit by inflation at this point, but they're able to do all the things they'd like to do. Certainly that includes lifestyle expenses as well.
And we know we have to scale that $6,000 up for taxes, so that would leave us with a estimated monthly goal of $7,200.
We know that, and we like to say at the end, which is we always like to measure things from the back end, which is what happens when the faucets are turned on, i.e. when both of them would be taking their normal Social Security retirement benefits, which would be at 67. They will be receiving about $5,700 per month. Kathy, our last caller, was asking about doing work and are they hitting the Social Security limits? Well, in this particular case, because of the assets that they have, we've recommended that that Sam not elect for his Social Security benefits at that particular moment because they have other income as well as availability to Roth and other assets at that point. So when we take these two numbers together, we find that when they do both elect their Social Security benefits, $5,700 a month, they're only going to be about $1,500 a month short, $18,000 per year. And if we divide that number by 4%, which is what we consider a prudent rate of withdrawal, that tells us that the capital that they'll need to sustain that income flow over a long period of time using the 4% prudent withdrawal rate is about $450,000. Well, as obviously when we compare $450,000 to their current assets that they have, woohoo, they're rock stars. And their withdrawal rate obviously is very, very small. Naturally, what this does is this really creates a lot of questions, not only directly from them, but also questions that we have to ask ourselves as planners to help them and provide them with the best level of advice.
Do we wait 2 years to elect Social Security benefits, considering the Social Security takebacks for each of them? Sue's consulting, Jim's music gigs.
Sam's music gigs, unless Sue has a boyfriend.
Exactly. Sorry about that. And that's his gig. So that's kind of fun. And at this point, we made a recommendation that they could wait. Well, if they do make that decision to do so, what do they have to do then, babe?
So we need to consider how much additional capital we're going to need to basically replace Social Security income for the years that they are not taking it. So if we know that they need $72,000 a year for 2 years, that's about $144,000. After tax, that's $84,000 times 2 years is $168,000.
Which we would then add, to the $450,000 of, I like to call that the milk money capital. So between those two, on a pre-tax basis, we're looking at approximately $638,000, which again is they obviously have that asset level that they can support.
And essentially what we're doing here, since we threw a lot of numbers out, is that for those gap years where Sue and Sam are not electing their Social Security benefits, we have to make up their entire income. So we like to take the conservative possible approach by saying, if we set aside your income for those years that we won't be taking Social Security, when we got to the point you took Social Security, would you still have enough assets, assuming no growth in your portfolio over that time?
Yes,
and that's one of the ways we can kind of, right, and it works because in this, one of the ways we determine if it's a viable strategy is, would Sue and Sam have enough when we got to the point that they elected their Social Security benefit at 67 years old, respectively? Would they still have enough money to maintain the lifestyle that they've created? In their case, yes. So that means that it is a viable strategy for us to hold off on one or both of their Social Security benefits.
And, you know, this really becomes I like to call this a feel-good decision. We know that they're going to have enough capital. We're confident they have enough capital, the $450 when they retire, when they're both fully retired and they're both getting their Social Security benefits. If it made them feel more comfortable to elect Sam's benefit, which is a smaller benefit at that point, that's okay. Are they shooting themselves in the foot? Not really, because they have sufficient other capital to make up the difference between that and the normal retirement benefit.
I think before we get to the rest of Sue and Sam's questions, we should take our second break of the hour, and we even have a few text questions from our first topic to get to, so please hang with us. We'll be right back after a few messages.
Jason Lennox here with Beck & Lennox Estate Planning and Elder Law. Our law firm is beginning its 50th year of helping families protect their estates, take full advantage of tax benefits available to them, and incorporate charitable gifts into their estate plans. Call our office at 636-946-7899 or go online at beckelderlaw.com to schedule a free phone consultation with one of our attorneys. That's beckelderlaw.com.
Schaefer Auto Body Centers is proud to be your community collision repair center for nearly 40 years. As Schaefer Auto Body Centers, we offer best-in-class auto body repairs with a lifetime warranty and OEM Gold Standard guarantee. We can also handle your auto glass needs through our glass division, SOS Auto Glass and Calibrations. Visit sos-autoglass.com. They'll come to your home or business. At Schaefer Auto Body Centers, we strive for a seamless, hassle-free customer experience. Visit SchaeferAutobody.com to learn more about our services.
Hello, I'm Florissant Mayor Tim Lowry. We are over 52,000 strong, and we are the largest municipality in St. Louis County. The City of Florissant is proud to once again be a co-sponsor with the Big 550 KTRS for the Backstoppers Radiothon. I came from a law enforcement family and had worked my way through the ranks to the position of Chief of Police before becoming mayor. I know how important the Backstoppers are to the community and all the wonderful things they do for the families of our fallen heroes. Again, the City of Florissant is proud to support this year's Radiothon, and thank you for all you do. We are Florissant Strong. Be safe and stay healthy.
You're selling your home, and I want to buy it. This is Mike Robinson with Robank Properties, and I am ready to pay top dollar for your home. No contingencies, no inspections, no monkey business. I buy your home no matter the condition or location, and you walk away with cash. Call me, Mike Robinson, at 314-283-0867, 314-283-0867, or at robankproperties.com. That's ROBANG properties.com.
In the world we live in, addiction is everywhere, but recovery is possible. At Illinois Recovery Center, they treat the addiction, but they also treat you. The professional staff utilizes individual therapy, group therapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy, so you can gain control of your thoughts and then gain control of your life. Evidence-based treatment programs can get you on the path to sobriety. The beautiful new facility in Swansea, Illinois has a safe and inclusive environment. When you're ready to break free and live your life, please go to IllinoisRecoveryCenter.com.
Winter is here, and that means snow, ice, and sometimes dangerous cold. The air quality experts at Aldon would like to remind you to schedule your furnace maintenance now. Aldon will inspect and service your furnace or boiler for proper operation and ventilation to avoid health or safety issues. And remember to inspect and service your humidifiers. St. Louis winters can turn harsh quickly. Being prepared saves lives. Mention KTRS and receive $40 off any repair job over $200. Some restrictions apply. Call the indoor air quality specialists at Aldon at 314-567-5585 or visit al-don.com.
Diana from Newsteaders Fine Jewelers here to remind you, we don't just offer the best pieces, we offer one of the last master hand engravers in our country. My father can create timeless, personal, and unforgettable pieces. Come by our showroom at the corner of Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or learn more online at wowdiamonds.com.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back for our last segment of hour number one here on the Big 550 KTRS. It's Straight Talk on Retirement. And before we get to our text messages, what I'd like to do is just to mention that we know that a lot of our listeners, and we certainly appreciate them coming in and visiting us with coaching sessions, they also do work, in many cases, do seek out other folks that are actually advertisers on the station. I've had an opportunity to work with Beck Elder Law Firm, and it's not just Rudy. He has a bunch of other very capable attorneys that work for him, and I want to give him a plug because he's done a good job for many of our clients. So if you're in a situation where you do have to deal with, or you're thinking you may have to deal with nursing home, assisted living, whether it's Medicaid spend down, he's a very good resource.
That's great. So, Dad, did you want to get to a couple of these text questions before we got back to Sue and Sam?
I think that's a good idea.
All right.
And our first texter writes, do you use individual income funds or bond funds, especially in this rate environment?
So we always believe that the fixed income portion of the portfolio is an important piece to have to create balance. And I would say that in the past, when we saw the rates rising, we did move away from bond funds to avoid market fluctuation. And now that we see some stability in the rates, we have added bond funds back into our portfolios.
Yeah, I think that, as Aaron was mentioning, in an environment that we're in today, we happen to focus more on credit quality as well as maturity. Long-term bonds happen to be more volatile in terms of their ups and downs than shorter-term securities. So at this point, when you're riding the rate curve up, you want to be on a shorter maturity cycle, CDs, money markets, etc. As rates go down, that's where you're able to see capital appreciation in longer-term securities. So it's a balance. Very much like you're balancing the mix in your equity portfolio, you're doing the same thing in the fixed income side.
And our next texter writes, do most firms have a rebalance notice built into their clients' portfolios so they stay within their personal guardrails?
I would say we can't speak to what other firms do, but you should absolutely have that conversation with your advisor. Am I in an account that automatically rebalances, or what is your strategy for ongoing rebalancing? How often do you rebalance? What objective, what criteria do you use in rebalancing, or is it mechanical? And then I would just speak to ourselves, which is that we do rebalance the client accounts every 6 months.
Yes, and we also do have, in many cases, managers that rebalance those portfolios even more frequently, even on a quarterly basis. So the answer is yes, we do that. We think it's important, and so we talk the talk, but we also walk the walk.
And our last question is clarification on Kathy's question, please. If I'm turning full retirement age in September 2024 and I'm collecting Social Security and working part-time, do I still need to keep my earnings under $22,320 up until September, or can I make $56,520 starting in the year 2024? It is the latter. The year you turn full retirement age, in your case 2024, you will be governed by that $56,520 number.
And also keep in mind, if you happen to bump above that slightly, you have a little bit more cushion than you did in the past. You only pay back $1 for every 3 that you earn over the 56,000 mark. So you get a little benefit in 2 ways as you approach your normal retirement age.
And then once you've reached full retirement, there's no take back anyway. You can earn as much as you'd like.
Go back to work full time.
Why retire?
Yes, basically the shackles are off, which is nice. It gives you that kind of flexibility. And, that was something that we were really addressing with our last Rockstar of the Week segment, which we'll continue at this moment, about Sue and Sam. They had an income. They were in a situation where when they do decide to elect Social Security, they were going to put these off until their normal retirement age. Most of their income was going to be needs were going to be covered by their Social Security benefits, but they still did need and did require some additional income at that point. And we certainly haven't addressed capital needs that also might happen during the future.
And I would just say one quick point on this Social Security conversation, which is that if you're working with an advisor and you're planning for your retirement, I would definitely spend time making mention what your plans are in retirement, because some individuals have no intention of going back to work no matter what the offer might be. Some people that are retiring say, well, I'll hear them out if I receive an offer to go back to work part-time or on my terms, which we've heard quite a few people that head into retirement are asked to come back to assist in some way. Maybe that's more amenable to their schedules or less hours, things along those lines. You definitely
work from home.
Work from home. You definitely want to be clear with your advisor so they can give you the best possible advice. Like Sue and Sam knew that they were going to earn some additional and potentially substantial income before they got to 67 when they no longer have the issue of the take back. So we were able to plan for holding off on taking their Social Security benefit and not have to retroactively either decide to pay it back, which you can do within the first year that you've elected it, or just have to live with a take back.
Yeah, yes. And, naturally that then leads to the next question is, from where should we draw the income that we need during our pre-Social Security income period? This replacing this $72,000 worth of net income, $84,000 a year of gross income. And they really have options. Options are they could certainly pull money from retirement accounts. They would be taxable, but we know that based on their current adjusted gross income, that number is going to keep them in a very low tax bracket. They have Roth IRA assets, which they certainly could draw from. We tend to, however, really kind of put these aside for most of our clients for big ticket item purchases that happen. And then certainly they do have their vault. They have over $1 million of non-retirement assets, which they can either draw income or cash flow and actually have no income tax, which is a nice situation.
Or tax preferred if they happen to have some long-term capital gains in there.
Right. And then finally, where do we draw the income from after we begin our Social Security benefits? Again, very similar questions, but we know that people's lives are very fluid, whether they go back to work or they don't, whether Sam continues to do gigs or does more gigs. His income may grow, and that's something, obviously, him having the availability and his wife around to be with him to go to those gigs might put him in a situation where that income flow might increase, so that where we're taking the money from is very important. At the same time, what we're also very cognizant of, and not in this particular situation, but in most other folks, is that we don't want to drain their after-tax assets completely and really make them the first source, because we know that they may be needed in the future for other capital projects. And taking large amounts of money from your retirement plans certainly can increase not only your effective tax rate, but your marginal tax rate. And that's something we really need to think about and consider.
And I would say that, we've had the conversation pretty frequently about taxes in retirement. Many people have some apprehension around that, thinking that they're going to be more complicated or more expensive. And our argument has always been, and I think that Sue and Sam are an excellent example of this, which is that in retirement, you have more control over your taxes because you get to decide, or you have assistance in deciding where your assets are, where your cash flow is coming from. Can we, over a long period of time, regulate your tax bracket using your multiple sources of potential income? Or are we stuck in one bracket because you might be on the other side of things and lucky that you have some very substantial fixed income sources, like in addition to Social Security, potentially pension benefits? So I would say that there's only positive planning when we get to retirement.
And don't touch that dial, because we'll be right back for hour number 2 of Straight Talk Retirement right after these messages.
For your money, it's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Woohoo! Hour number 2, Straight Talk and Retirement here on the Big 550 KTRS. Had a lot of fun in the first hour talking about rock stars and other things, but at this point, what we like to do is kick off this hour with our Smart Choices About Your Healthcare segment that we love to do every single week.
Yes, we do. And we just received a great text. I promise it's not from a relative. Your show is better than all the others because you actually take questions and answer them without having to come into your offices. So, if you have Medicare questions, now is the time. Please text us 84126 on the text line, or give us a call, 314-931-5877. We'd love to answer those Medicare questions for you.
Because you care, we talk Medicare. Let's go.
Well, tell me a little bit about Dan and Patty.
Dan and Patty both have exceptional health. They go to the gym regularly. They play in pickleball leagues.
Be careful
right
during your pickleball tournaments, guys.
Seen more pickleball injuries than I can count at this point. They travel. They diet. They live an overall active lifestyle. You love to see it. Both are very serious about their health. Therefore, they take their preventatives very seriously. Dan and Patty asked, when they come onto Medicare, how will preventatives be covered?
I mean, this is a great question, because especially if you've worked for a larger employer and you have the opportunity to lower your premium or receive rebates for actually taking part in preventative services, going to the doctor, having your regular screenings. Unfortunately, Medicare does not create additional benefit for you when we're dealing with preventative care. However, almost all preventative care is covered under Medicare Advantage plans, as well as your supplement, at no additional charge to you, which is great. Let's talk a little bit about what some of the preventative care services are. Annual visits to your primary.
Flu shots,
annual blood work.
Colonoscopies.
So that would be, colonoscopies.
Let's not talk about colonoscopies.
I try to keep it to a minimum, sir.
Then, this guy's almost old enough anyway. Then also you'll want to men's wellness as well as women's wellness. Those are all covered at no extra charge to you. There are additional screenings that are considered preventative at no extra charge to you.
Abdominal aortic
aneurysm
screening, alcohol misuse screening, cardiovascular disease screening, depression, obesity, diabetes, prostate, and lung cancer screenings.
So when we mentioned lung cancer screenings to Dan, he let us know that he used to be a smoker, so he gets lung screenings once a year, and he asked, how will these lung screenings be covered, especially if you're going to elect a Medicare Advantage plan. If you know that you have ongoing testing or annual testing, you want to know, am I going to have a copay associated with those screenings? And the nice news is that Medicare has laid out the criteria specifically for all of these different screenings. And if we're looking at lung cancer screenings, it includes anyone that's between 55 and 77, has no signs of lung cancer, and is either currently a smoker or has quit within the last 15 years. So as long as you meet those those criteria, you won't have an additional copay when you get to Medicare Advantage, and also the supplemental plans will cover that for you too.
And I resemble that remark, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely. First text question of our Medicare moment.
This always wakes them up, and our Medicare texter writes, what is your Medicare recommendation for someone who is eligible for TRICARE? Thanks, Bill.
TRICARE is fantastic. It is considered essentially full coverage for you in retirement. However, if you are interested in chatting with someone, I would absolutely recommend coupling your TRICARE with a Medicare Advantage plan. You don't pay anything for the Medicare Advantage plan in most cases. There's no monthly premium. But what this does is it's going to open up your options for you. One, it's going to give you access to all those extra benefits that we like to talk about, the dental, the vision, the hearing, the fitness benefit if you work with an Aetna policy, over-the-counter benefits. It's also going to widen your doctor network. You'll have access to whichever insurance company you select, their network, not just VA physicians. And you'll have the choice of with your prescriptions. I know that the VA covers prescriptions exceptionally well, but if you happen to have a medication that isn't covered as well under the VA, or it's easier for you to fill at the preferred provider with the Medicare Advantage plan, you get to choose how you access your benefits. So I would absolutely take a look at just coupling your TRICARE with a Medicare Advantage plan that fits you, and that'll give you not only comprehensive coverage, but you'll get a few extra goodies with it.
That's wonderful advice, honey, and I know that I'm hoping that next week we might be having a conversation a little about your dear old dad.
Next week?
Yeah.
Yes, my two favorite Medicare clients.
Oh, yes.
Mom and Dad.
Finally grown-ups.
Finally fully grown up as of February 1st.
Yes, I certainly want to talk a little bit about the positive experience I've had with my staff. With my staff, it has been in getting me there, but it's a little scary. I got to tell you, we've helped thousands of Aaron and
Frank
have helped thousands of folks get enrolled in these Medicare supplement and traditional plans. And, when it's your time,
some people ask a lot of questions.
I don't ask any. I mean, I was easy when I said, we have Aaron.
Sometimes when clients have access to your cell phone number, they text after office hours questions that you might not have the information for because you're enjoying your evening.
That's the beauty of having your cell phone number. You can reach out and talk to your advisor at any moment.
especially if it's your mom.
That's, especially if it's your mom. But back to Dan and Patty for a quick moment. I think this is a really important topic, which is what is going to be covered for you at no extra charge when you join Medicare, because you are used to certain things being covered for you, potentially using individual coverage or using a group-sponsored plan. It's great to know all of the things that are going to be included for you that you don't have to pay an additional charge for, not only so you can be prepared, but so you can take advantage of all of the extra benefits that you are entitled to. And when I talk about extra benefits, that doesn't just mean being able to buy the over-the-counter stuff at Walgreens, but it really means that all of the health services offered to you that you don't have to dip into your pocket for.
That's fabulous. And I was going to say, the ladies' health screenings are obviously different than men's, but when we get down to it, a physical exam benefit is a little bit different. A wellness visit is really covered a little differently as well, isn't it?
Yes, that's a great point. So when you call into your doctor's office and you would like to have your annual wellness visit, you're going to want to let them know that it's a wellness visit, because that way your doctor has a few things that they are required to complete with Medicare so that it is billed to you at no extra charge. Now, you might think, well, I have a Medicare Advantage plan. When I go see the primary, there's no charge anyway. There are some services included in the wellness visit, like your annual blood work and some annual screenings that are not just covered in a normal exam. So you will want to differentiate for the individual that you're making the appointment with. Also, for some plans, that requires that the doctor have a certain amount of time with you. So you'll want to make sure the doctor's office knows that, because the doctor's office has certain things that they have to meet in order for that visit and everything therein to be covered at no extra charge for you.
Yeah, making sure they code it right. It's very easy for, someone to code it as a physical when it really is a wellness assessment.
Also, you want to be able to be sure to get all the services that the wellness visit includes, to just a quick chat with the doctor.
Absolutely.
And what's so nice is that with our office, and our job doesn't really stop after you've made a purchase decision. We're there, our staff is there to assist you in dealing and smoothing things out if things aren't correct, and we do interface with physician offices if necessary, as well as the carriers for you, because we're on the payroll.
That's right.
Beautiful to have Frank on the payroll. Just like, hey, they sent me a bill. I don't think I'm responsible. Can you look into, how much anxiety must that save?
Absolutely. Frank talked about an example from last week where there was an exorbitant bill that needed to be dealt with that he assisted with. I heard a call just last week where, we had helped an individual transition from one plan to another for this year, and they were actually receiving services throughout the December-January transition, and the insurance companies were fighting with one another as to who needed to make payment, and Frank was there to help get things sorted out.
I just love the fact that, the first move on the chessboard doesn't have to be to flip around your Medicare card and get the number out. No, I can reach out to Frank and tell him what's going on, and then we can go from there. So it's, you have people on your side that are swimming with the tide with you, as opposed to, now I have to speak to someone that, doesn't know me from Adam.
Right.
That's terrific. And again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And speaking of that text line, before we get back to our Rockstar segment, we have a Medicare question, and our texter writes, can you couple your CHAMP VA with a Advantage plan, and what is the difference between CHAMP VA and versus TRICARE?
So I am not an expert in VA benefits, but I do know how they work with Medicare. So you can couple CHAMP VA benefits with TRICARE benefits. And unfortunately, there are two different programs that the VA offers, TRICARE and VA. Sometimes they're confused, but essentially they're two separate programs. And the main difference between them is if you're eligible for TRICARE, you aren't eligible for CHAMP benefits. So you'll know the difference between the two if you are using either of them. I don't want to go into any additional detail, as I'm not an expert in this area, so I don't want to give out any information that isn't exactly correct on that.
Gotcha.
Fair enough. Which is great. And again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. I hope things, folks, are thawing out. I know you had a pretty tough go at the weather last week.
Well, now it's turned into some sort of tropical chill.
Like it went from being so cold to it's like 40, 45 degrees now. So now we're inundated with fog.
Right. We're practically in San Francisco or something. You can't see the tops of buildings or anything.
I'll take the fog and the gloomy weather as opposed to subarctic.
Right.
That's fabulous. Okay.
Isn't it fabulous?
Babe, I was going to say, do we want to take our first break of the hour and then get back to our subject matter?
Yes, let's take our first break of the hour, and hopefully you were listening during our first hour, because we definitely want to get back to Sue and Sam, our rock stars of the week. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
There's nothing like the aroma of your favorite entree cooking outside on a grill. And there's nothing like the thermal efficiency of a big green egg to slow cook, sear, bake, or smoke that favorite entree. Frank Blair from Schnarr's Hardware here to tell you we have a big green egg to fit your needs. There are 7 sizes of big green eggs, so we're sure to have one that's right for you. We stock every size, from the double extra large to cook for a crowd.
That thing is huge and heavy.
All the way down to the green egg mini.
It's so cute.
Perfect for picnics or tailgating. Don't forget to accessorize. We also stock accessories and sauces and rubs to complement any meal. So come to Schnarr's Hardware and let us help you get grilling with a big green egg. Or go to schnarrs.com to see what's in stock, find our locations and hours, or to shop online. Grilling's easy when you start at Schnarr's.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. We're on segment number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
We do have one quick text to wrap up our Medicare segment.
And our texter writes, what is the income limit that would cause you to pay more for your monthly Medicare?
You got that there?
Well, I'm going to give you 2 numbers. I'm going to give you the individual, and then I'm going to give you the joint.
So married filing jointly?
So if you're an individual, it's $103,000 or less. If you're filing jointly, it's $206,000 or less.
Now, there are other brackets as your income increases that are banded that would force you into even higher monthly Medicare payments, but that first threshold is the $103
correct
versus $206.
And I'll just take it to that payment is going to be $174.70 for your Part B premium.
If it's under that number.
Correct. And the next level up would be $103.01 to $129. And then if that's individual and filing jointly, it would be $206 to $258,000, and that's going to be $244.60. And
that's above and beyond the $174 that you are paying. And also, if you happen to be married filing jointly, unlike Social Security take-back, where the Social Security looks specifically at the filer's income, not at earned income versus the joint filing. This is a joint filing situation. So if you have a spouse that is earning significantly more, or you're taking large distributions from retirement accounts, or you have a large position in municipal bonds that are paying interest to you, they're going to look at the full tax return to determine where your Medicare Part B premium should be. It's not an individual basis. So both people in the couple get hit with that increase.
So good rule of thumb, if you're an individual, once you get on the wrong side of $103,000, you're looking at an increase, and if you're filing jointly, that number goes up to $206,000.
Perfect. And those numbers are adjusted on an annual basis.
And isn't there a tier above that?
There are several tiers above that.
Yes, it goes.
Well, what's the very top tier?
The very top tier, if you're lucky enough to make $500,000 or more a year, you'll be paying $594. More. So
more than the $174.
Correct.
It's $174 plus an additional $419.30. And if you're filing jointly, if you're lucky enough to make over $750,000,
that'll be the same. So if you notice, the first tier, it's just a doubling if you are married filing jointly, but once you get to the top tier, it's not quite a doubling.
That's what we might call a good problem to have, though. If you're filing jointly and you have income in excess of $750,000.
I guess, but if you go to the grocery store to buy bread, if you earn $750,000 or you earn $20,000 a year, you still pay the same price. I'm just saying.
Well, it's not a good problem to have if it's your problem.
I guess that's fair.
Which etc. But I do want to say, ooh,
right.
That's a lot of money. I mean,
but
you're looking at over $700 a month, and that's per person. So you're looking at $1,400 a month on the top tier.
It's almost $18,000.
Medicare Part B.
It's almost $18,000 a year.
But you also get that over-the-counter benefit. Remember, if you choose Medicare Advantage.
Right. And if you have a good agent that's giving you a consultation on what's the right plan to choose. So.
Well, for some people that are newly joining Medicare, we could always alter your income to adjust for that. Dad.
Not at the $700,000 level, or over $500,000. That's a little bit more difficult, which is great. Again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And maybe we'll get back to our rock stars about Sue and Sam.
Yes, let's do a quick review before we get back.
That's a good idea. Let me do that very quickly, which is, Sue and Sam are getting ready to retire. They've got about 2 years till they're eligible for their full Social Security normal retirement benefit based on the level of retirement assets and non-retirement assets that they have. We've determined that based on their income flow, they'll be rock stars. We'll have more cash flow and more capital than they need to support that lifestyle. But that's really just game plan number one of a retirement game plan. When we're measuring, first thing we measure was how are things going to be when we're both together?
And healthy.
The second thing we talk about is what happens if one spouse predeceases the other. Will the capital, will the income flow be sufficient for them, for that surviving spouse to maintain their lifestyle? In this particular case, we know that will be the case, even though one of them will lose a Social Security benefit. They have enough capital so that we can replace that. But as Aaron said, after we talk about when you're alive, we'll call it living benefits, survivor benefits, we then have to go to what if you're not healthy?
Right, and one of the reasons this was a topic of conversation in our coaching session with Sue and Sam was because Sue told us that her mom had spent several years in an assisted living facility before passing away. And it was unfortunately a very significant drain on her assets. And they obviously would like to avoid this same fate if possible. And Sue's really in good health today and could qualify for long-term care insurance. Sam probably couldn't, unfortunately.
What are the options that we should consider? Well, if we assume the monthly cost for a chronically ill spouse is $8,000 a month, and if we assume that the cost for the living expenses for the other spouse is $2,500, the total income needed will be $10,000.
$11,000 almost?
Almost $11,000. Now, we know Social Security comes in and it makes up $5,700 of that amount needed, but we're left with a shortfall of about $5,300.
That's right. And if we have $5,300 over the course of a year, that's about $62,000. And luckily, that's right at the 4% rate of withdrawal for Sue and Sam. So, a few things here. The first being is that we like to look at long-term care insurance truly as disability insurance, meaning we need to create some additional income for the spouse that has become chronically ill, because we know that expenses will have increased. It's almost the opposite of disability insurance, where you're losing income because of an illness. We're just going to increase your expenses because of an illness. But if we look at long-term care in a vacuum, it becomes incredibly expensive. We're looking at, funding an $8,000 a month benefit. But Rob, as you pointed out, Social Security is not going to stop.
Thank God.
Also, your investment income is not going to stop in whatever way we have constructed it. Now, we might have to add to that, like we mentioned with Sue and Sam, they're going to need additional income if this were to happen. But the shortfall is substantially less than what you would consider just the price of using a long-term care facility, at the assisted living or skilled nursing level. And this is why we can, and, Sam and Sue are a perfect example here, that if your assets exceed about $1.5 million, long-term care insurance isn't necessarily a requirement for you. It could be what we like to call a security blanket. If you fall below $1.5 million but above $200,000, you're really in the sweet spot where using long-term care insurance can be almost like homeowners insurance for your portfolio. You're protecting your assets against that need for Medicaid spend down in order to get into the government's pocket to help cover.
So there are obviously several options they can consider here. As Aaron mentioned, because of the level of assets they have, they could self-fund, which is basically say, we're just going to deal with this issue if it occurs. We're not going to put aside specific assets or purchase insurance to do that. Obviously, the second one would be, because we know that Sam is probably not in a situation where he can qualify for long-term care, we might consider in basically creating an insurance contract for Sue. The cost to do that, and not for the full $8,000 a month, but really for about $5,000 a month, would cost about $4,000 per year. Those premiums could come from retirement plan distributions, Roth distributions, or even from their trust account. Increasing that level of income isn't going to tilt their apple cart in regard to their capital or their income flow. So that certainly is an option. But there's also another option that they could do, right, Rob?
Absolutely. They could purchase a fixed annuity with a long-term care benefit in their trust accounts. Interest earned is credited to the contract and pays for the long-term care benefits.
And so this is important because, unfortunately, if you are going to be looking at what's called a self-funded contract, which would be using a fixed annuity, or sometimes we see life insurance coupled with long-term care, you have to use after-tax assets in order to do this. You cannot hold them inside of your IRA account. And it really is to your benefit, because if the long-term care benefit were needed to be paid out, it's tax-free to you. If you held it inside of an IRA account, it would become taxable. So although it seems like hamstringing a little bit or limiting your options, it really is creating a tax benefit for you by using after-tax dollars to do this.
And I was going to say what's a very positive thing right now is we know that fixed annuity interest rates, just like other interest rates, have gone up over the last several years. So what we're doing is we're actually seeing contracts that are being credited with a reasonable rate of interest. That interest is being retained in that contract. A portion of it is being used to pay for the long-term care premium. So this particular contract, in their case, could be considered a part of their overall fixed income strategy and done inside their trust, so that that interest that was earned inside of that fixed annuity contract isn't subject to income tax. And as you were saying, Aaron, if they get to a situation where they have to begin to make withdrawals, they're tax-free. So you're really talking about, tax-deferred interest and then a tax-free income flow. Doesn't get better than that. That's
right. I agree with you.
And I know that based upon the answering of certain healthcare answers, that benefit that they have could be magnified. It could be equal to their, and I'll let you go on that, babe.
I was just going to say, because you are using your own assets to fund the benefit, it is a much lower threshold for qualifying for long-term care. Traditional contracts, you pay a premium, and if you meet the qualifications of the contract, meaning you lose 2 activities of daily living and need substantial assistance therein, you'll trigger your benefit, which is most people would consider the beginning the return of premium, but really the insurance company considers it in their pocket. Whereas if you use your own funds to fund a policy using either a fixed annuity or a life insurance contract that has a long-term care benefit attached to it, one, your health questions are less strict, and then secondly, in some cases, especially if you're using a fixed annuity product, they often offer the opportunity to magnify what you have contributed to the policy to return in long-term care benefits. So just to use an example, if Sue and Sam said that they wanted to contribute about $100,000 to a long-term care contract, if we were only going to write this on Sue because she's healthy, if she passes at the highest health rating, then the insurance company will say, okay, Sue, if you trigger your benefit, losing 2 activities of daily living, you don't just have $100,000 plus the interest accrued inside of the contract. We'll be willing to give you $300,000 in long-term care benefit. Now, you're going to use your money and interest first, but once you've exhausted that $100,000 plus interest, you get to dip into the insurance company's bucket and begin to use that remaining $200,000. The benefits some people consider of one of these contracts is that if Sue never happens to use her benefit, or she doesn't eat through the full $100,000 plus interest that she's earned inside of the contract, that stays with her estate. If she happens to pass away, she doesn't lose that, as many people consider, paying for premium for a policy that you never used as a loss of money.
I think that's a really good point. And again, what's nice is that these folks are in a position where they do have options. And frankly, doing the planning for them put them in a situation where they could have some peace of mind of knowing that as these contingencies occur, whether one spouse dies early, whether one of them becomes ill, we have a game plan created to deal with the cash flow needs so that both of them can, maintain the lifestyle that they have. And that's really what it is. I mean, the truth is a retirement game plan is really a financial plan. So having a coach, having someone there to assist you, as well as other professionals like an attorney, making sure that you have the correct documents to have the legal foundation to support your plan, it's just extremely important. And I'll tell you the truth, for us, it's fun. Love having these conversations, not only with clients, but with new clients, being able to lay these game plans out in front of their eyes on our electronic whiteboard, gives them, I think, at least we have found, confidence and maybe more important, clarity. The more information we can give back to them in terms of how a third party is looking at their financial situation, puts them in a position where they can expand their thinking. It's all
Absolutely.
Good. And not just as good, it's fun. I mean, we really enjoy doing this, and I would say, Aaron, I'm sure that you, and Rob, I'm sure that you would agree with me, is that when we're visiting with somebody and they're just wondering, can we do this? Can we make this? Is this really going to happen? And that light bulb goes off. They're looking at the numbers, they're seeing things and say, this really can happen for us. Just being there at that moment when they're experiencing this, it's a thrill. I mean, it really is to see this and the joy that comes to their faces, etc. The cool part is that for most of the folks, I mean, almost 90+% of the people that come to see us, they want confirmation. And we're in a position where we can give it to them. I think that's great.
Well, it just really made me think of something, which is that turn of phrase, which is a goal is just a dream until you write it down. Well, I think a lot of people have the dream of retirement. They're working towards retirement. Their entire working careers are putting money into their retirement accounts. They're saving. They're planning. But when they come in to see us, or when you sit down and do the math and you see that we put the plan together in writing, it truly isn't a dream anymore. It really becomes a goal, and we get to sit there in that moment and with people experiencing that the dream that they've had for probably more than 30 years actually gets to become a reality, and we just have to work the plan.
That's right, which is great, because the truth is that the financial plans aren't really written for you. They're written for us to follow. What you do is you're basically you're giving us the ingredients, which is your capital, your goals, etc., so that we can put the plan together. So it's a lot of fun. We do enjoy doing that.
You know what else is fun? We have a caller on the line.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. How is everyone?
Fantastic.
Good. Got a question. I'm 58 years old. I'm going to be paid from my current employer till I'm 59 and a half. I'm basically working, not working, but I'm working as a consultant there. Got assets of around 1.8 in various 401k, annuity, stocks, bonds, things like that. No debt. My house is paid off. At 59 and a half, that's when my insurance will run out with the company. Do you think, single man, can a person live on that, a fairly decent income, say $100,000 a year, and not draw heavily on the principle of what the assets are? Something I wanted to say for the kids.
Dad, I thought you'd want to jump in on this one.
Well, what's important, I think, what we would want to do is to really is for you to go back and to key into what your current spending is, not what you like it to be or what it would be, but what it actually is.
Well, right now it's much less than 100, but after taxes that I spend a year, it's probably closer to 50, 55.
Okay.
But,
so,
at some point I might want to travel, and I may want to take the kids someplace a little bit. So that's the reason I was going up to 100.
Well, if you don't mind my asking, are you traveling? Do you do any travel today, or
not at all?
Okay. So I think what we would probably do is we would say, okay, you're currently spending about $5,000 a month net. You may want to add, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 a month to that number for that type of consumption. We take that number, multiply it by 12, increase it by 20%. And that probably gets you somewhere into about the $80,000 per year area. That being the case, if we were to look at 1.8 million, I think that was the number that you gave us in total.
Right.
Was if we take 4% of 1.8 million, I believe that number is 72,000 a year. So that's $6,000 a month.
And we're not including your Social Security benefits yet.
Which eventually would kick in and probably is somewhere in the area between $2,800 and $3,500 per month. So adding those,
I will also have a pension from my union of about $5,000 a month.
$5,000 a month.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations.
This has all the makings of a rock star segment.
Oh my gosh.
But
absolutely.
here's my fear, and I just don't know. And again, I'm going to have to start paying for my health care and everything. I guess one of the questions I would ask on the Social Security, do you suggest in my situation, hold off as long as I can? I have a lot of longevity in my family. Now they haven't lived the life I've lived, but I've enjoyed my 58 years. Let's put it that way.
I would probably tell you absolutely no.
Take it.
Okay.
Yeah, you would take it. And the only reason that you wouldn't take it is if between actually 62, which is the earliest, and 67, that you might be going back to work.
Exactly.
You might be consulting in some way. So what we typically do with those clients is we say, let's wait and see where we are at that particular moment in time. If we decide to elect that benefit, and then for some reason during the first year, you do go back and we do see that your earnings are going to create a Social Security take-back situation, you have some options. You can either be locked in at that level forever, or you can repay that benefit during the first year. But from everything you're telling me, you're in a really good place, because $5,000 a month, if you're saying, hey, I really want to have $8,000 a month, well, $3,000 a month, $36,000. That's about 2% of 1.8 million. So you're deep in terms of being in the safe withdrawal corridor. You're half of what it would be. So I
And then
think
it
you're in a
could go to
situation
almost nothing when you turn on your Social Security benefit. So you might be in a
That's right.
position where you're drawing a little bit more from 59.5 to 62, 63, maybe even up to 67 potentially if you are going to, consult all of those years. And then as soon as you turn your Social Security benefit on
And your pension.
and you'll have the pension on, you'll only be drawing from your assets to take your family on those really fabulous vacations.
And that also assumes that if you're 57, 58 now, that we don't see any growth in those accounts over the next 5 to 7 years.
Right.
True.
Yeah,
Now,
and certainly healthcare isn't an issue for you either. You'll have COBRA,
For
which will
18.
go on for 18 months, and then we still have the Unaffordable Care Act that'll permit you to access coverage without any pre-existing conditions. You can take that all the way through until you reach Medicare age of 65. Or alternatively, you could be in a situation where maybe you get a consulting gig. And maybe one of your things that you say is, hey, guess what? I'll be happy to work for you, but I want health insurance. And that could be a prerequisite. And as Aaron would tell you, once you become eligible and participate in the plan for one day, that then reactivates the 18 months of COBRA.
Right, you have a new 18-month window to begin.
So I think you've got a lot. I think you've got a lot of options and a lot of fun here. But what's also kind of coming into my mind here is that because you talked about your children doing things with them. Well, I think what's nice is that once you feel comfortable with the income flow that you'll be having, and seeing that your lifestyle can be maintained, and you're looking at your capital, and hopefully you'll be seeing it growing over a period of time. You could be in a position where you could say, you know what, I want to enable these kids. I want to make some gifts. I want to do these things, and frankly, it's kind of nice to be in that position because honestly, our generation is really the first generation to truly have wealth.
And here's my question to you, Jeff, and that was the big part two of this question. And Aaron, you may want to close your ears on this. I have been on my own since I was 12. Everything I've got was on my own. I am kind of tooting my own horn, but nothing was from my family, and I think it was for the best. Am I doing a disservice to my kids to think that I want to pass that on to them?
Absolutely not.
You don't think, Jeff? Okay, I just
not in the least. I think that all I would suggest to you is that your children may benefit from your life's work in ways that are different than yours, but also in ways that are important to them. And so what I would suggest is that once you feel comfortable with where you are and you begin to want to enable them by making gifts, what I would suggest here is that you do them in an event-driven format. When important events come up for them, whether it's the purchasing of a home, starting a business, et cetera, what you can do is you can be there and become the banker if you feel like educating them with money is, or actually in gifting and letting them see them enjoy this wealth. And I think you're in a great position. And frankly, I'll be honest with you here. What I think about it doesn't mean a damn thing.
Oh,
what really is what's important to you.
Understood.
We all come.
I do.
Thank you. And I would just say, we all come to our life, these relationships, with our own baggage, which is all the stuff that we took in our upbringing. So being someone that was independent, someone that was a self-made person, are things that, frankly, I'm sure you would like to be able to pass on to your children in a meaningful way. And and the fact is they probably have, because our kids, and mine are sitting right there, they're sponges. Okay. They absorb everything that we've ever given
sponges. Right. Not financial sponges.
Excuse me?
Thank you for that defense. I appreciate it.
Let me tell you something. Nobody ever tells you how the kids get more expensive as they get older. Okay? The parents, my folks kind of forgot to mention that part as far as it goes. But, it is a joy, and I would say that you're in a position here. It sounds like that you can not only enable them if you want to, but at the same time create experiences, memories, that type of stuff. And that's a lot more important than the money.
And one thing I would add, Steve, is, you have a sizable asset base in your retirement accounts. When you talk about leaving it on to children, I don't know how you're fixed for life insurance, but, because of the new rule changes, your descendants will be forced to liquidate your retirement accounts if they inherit them within 10 years. You're young enough to get a life insurance policy that would mitigate a lot of those taxes, because I'm sure, when we talk about, leaving these things on, you want to leave them on to the people you want them to get to have them, not a sizable chunk going to the government. So that could be a strategy that you want to employ, like, hey, these accounts have grown quite a bit. I don't like the idea of leaving whomever with a giant tax bill. How do I mitigate some of that? You may want to stop into the office.
Some gifts could come before you pass. Some gifts come after.
Right. Well, and Frank, getting to your point, as I stated earlier, I haven't lived the cleanest life. I've done very well, but it was all through being frugal and some wise investments. But the last I checked, I am ineligible for life insurance due to sleep apnea and some other things. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. So I currently have no life insurance.
Let me, again, all I was going to suggest here is that there are a lot of estate planning strategies that can be employed. Life insurance is certainly one that is extremely effective if it's available to you to do that. But this is something, the truth is we obviously appreciate the opportunity to almost have like a mini coaching session with you here. But frankly, these are great conversations to have with an advisor, because we can really dig deep into what are your goals, where do you want to go, what are the time periods that you want to try to achieve some of these things, and really create that game plan that I like to think of it as the yellow brick road to get to where you want to go. And frankly, Steve, you're going to have a lot of fun, my friend.
Well, thank you.
A lot more fun.
Stay healthy, do your thing, talk to your advisor. Obviously, we're here if you don't have one and you feel like you're interested, you're wanting to engage in these conversations. It's great. And, we do this every day, and it sounds like you're going to have a lot of fun. So good luck to you.
Yeah,
thank you all very much, and have a great weekend.
Oh,
thank you.
You're very welcome.
I think we should take our last break of this hour because we're running up against the 11 o'clock hour. So
let's do it.
We've got a few text questions on deck. We'll get to those as soon as we get back.
The future of vehicle inspections is now at St. Paul Cadillac. Hi, this is Joe Clements. We are excited and proud to now offer you the latest in vehicle inspection technology. It's called UVI. Imagine getting an MRI scan for your vehicle, and St. Paul is the only dealership in the Midwest to offer you this technology. You have to see it and experience to fully appreciate UVI. The underbody scanner will produce a high-resolution imagery in just seconds, and machine learning algorithms will expose mechanical and safety issues that will be shared with our St. Paul service professionals. You will receive a full report detailing fluid leaks, misaligned parts, rust, tire wear, or damaged components. UVI will even let you know where every scratch or dent is located on your vehicle, ones you might not even know existed. UVI is the future of vehicle inspections, and it's only at St. Paul Cadillac. Come by today and see for yourself or schedule an appointment. The future of service is here. UVI only at St. Paul Cadillac, I-55 at the Herculaneum Auto Mall exit.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to our last few minutes of Straight Talk on Retirement this Saturday morning. We've got a couple of text questions on deck, so let's hit those before it's time to go.
And our next texter says, hey, can you go over the survivor benefits for a person that's been married twice and just recently the spouse on the second marriage passed away, and this person that would receive the benefit is turning 60 years old this year?
Yes. So, because the individual who is turning 60 this year was married for at least one day to the individual that passed away, they are eligible for survivor benefits on that spouse. Because they were remarried before 60 years old, they will never be eligible for survivor benefits on the first spouse.
That's complicated.
It's a little complicated, and it gets more complicated because you're eligible for the survivor benefit beginning at 60 years old. The nice thing about this is the survivor benefit does not impact any of your other options. For example, in our texter's case, they actually have 3 different benefits that they can elect on that are not the survivor benefit. So let's just hypothetically say that they elect the survivor benefit at 60. It's going to be discounted by their age, but it'll be the full benefit of the individual that just passed away, discounted till they're by the elector's age, which is 60 years old. They can then wait until 62 or their normal retirement age, and they'll have 3 other benefits to choose from: their own benefit or 2 spousal benefits, meaning they could elect get 50% of either of their previous spouse's benefits, the individual that passed away, or the living spouse, as long as they had been married to both of them, obviously independently of one another, for a 10-year period. So,
unless they live in Utah, of course, right?
You know, that's interesting. I don't know how that one would work. I think it's not federally, you're not allowed to be married to more than one person, so you only get to pick. If each spouse they were married for at least 10 years, then they would have access to 2 different spousal benefits. They'd still have access to the survivor benefit if the survivor benefit was more lucrative than the final benefit, which is their own benefit to elect on. So this individual has quite a few options. My suggestion is to give Social Security a call so you can get all of that data before you make an election.
And we just received a quick follow-up. Can we get the phone number to that single guy with 1.8 million? Thanks in advance.
If we could, we would be happy to play retirement matchmaker.
Steve, if you're out there listening, you got to keep yourself in
Annie's interested.
In the best shape possible, because
the ladies are available.
Got them lining up.
That's right.
And our next texter writes,
Dad, this is your favorite. We're going to lead the show out with a fan favorite.
What are the pros and cons of universal life insurance? An acquaintance of mine has a $125,000 policy that was supposedly paid up, but sounds like they will now owe some high premiums over the next 4 years. It sounds like the cash value will be gone during the next 4 years. I'm guessing the policy will lapse in 2029. Thank you.
I think it was a $125 million policy.
Is that what?
It has a little M next to it.
$125 million.
Well, nonetheless, the principle remains the same behind the universal life contracts.
Right. What's happened here is it sounds like, unfortunately, because interest rates went down, the cash accumulation in the contract wasn't large enough as it was planned, so that the premiums or those term charges that were associated inside the contract would be carried by the interest growth in the cash value. So you've got a couple of options here. Number one is you can get what's called an in-force illustration showing, and if you want to, and you can do this directly with the home office unless you're still talking to your agent, not unhappy with them. And you can basically say, I'd like to put in X or Y amount. And the insurance company will run you and say, here's a projection based upon our current interest rates assumptions, and this is how long the contract would be carried. So I would certainly suggest that if this is an important part of your estate plan, whether, as Rob said before, maybe to pay taxes, Maybe it's being used as an inheritance, maybe it's being used for charity, whatever it would be. It's important to maintain this contract. The insurance company should be able to help you with that, with figuring out what is that minimum number. Because what they're doing is they're just throwing a number out there that's really based upon not letting the policy lapse in that year. So depending on how long you want to keep this in force, it's going to almost be like a level term insurance contract for you. Excellent. So talk to your agent. I mean, that's the big deal.
And if you'd like, you can always talk to us by giving our office a call, 314-863-0008, logging on to our website, jblfinancial.com, and clicking the Contact Us button, or sending any of us an email, aaron@jblfinancial.com. Have a great weekend.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk on Retirement with your retirement coaches.